part of why I am drawn to ecstatic dance is because it's a way for people to express and to celebrate and to really express their full self, but it's also very healing.
Hello, and welcome to Reclaim Your Radiance, a podcast where we discuss the most intimate parts of the human experience. Let's take a deep dive into self-love, sexual pleasure, and absolutely everything in between. I'm your host, Kris Hall, and each week we will be joined by one fabulous friend, and sometimes that friend will just be me, to talk about how we can all become our most radiant selves. Are you ready? Let's get to it. Today, we are joined by Hayley, a 29-year-old Caucasian cisgendered, sexually fluid woman from New Zealand who has now called Canada home for 4 years. Hayley is a Dharma Life Coach, also known as Soul's Purpose Life Coach, a Breathwork facilitator, and an ecstatic dance facilitator, among many other things. On today's episode, she tells her fantastic story of how she followed her intuition and it led her literally across the world and away from everything she had known, to a place where she just knew in her heart that something incredible was waiting for her. And of course, she was right. Since then, she has honed her skills of listening to her intuition, and it's led her to creating her own business. Hayley now helps others embody their truth through coaching and movement in order to fulfill their life's purpose as well. I am thrilled to have her on today's episode and cannot wait for you to listen in. But before we do, just a few quick announcements. Are you looking to get more involved with the growing Reclaim Your Radiance community? Come join our Facebook group to talk podcast topics and more. Or maybe you're more of a tips and tricks straight to your inbox kind of person. Amazing. If you want a quick summary of Stacey's incredible How to Reach Your Goals advice from episode 4, we've got you. The links are in the episode description. And now, on to the podcast. All right. Hey, how's it going?
Hey, I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm wonderful. So lovely to have you here tonight.
And thank you for having me.
I wanted to start off by talking to you about your upbringing. So I know that you're from New Zealand. What was it like growing up there?
I had a really lovely childhood, actually. I had a lovely childhood. Teenagehood was a bit rough, but I grew up in a little small town called Palmerston North it's about 2 hours north of Wellington in the North Island. So sort of a bit south of the North Island. And it's a beautiful country to grow up in. I was very fortunate that, you can travel to different places very easily and very quickly. So there was a lot of travel that my mum and I used to do growing up. I grew up just with my mother, so I don't have any siblings. And my dad lived in Australia, so it was just mum and I. It was just a really beautiful place to grow up, very friendly. Definitely challenging in the teenage years, though. I think most teenagers have challenges. I went to an all-girls school, and that can be obviously pretty intense. So it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows, but it was a great place to grow up.
Yeah, sounds lovely. I think I've actually visited Palmerston North. I can't remember what stood out to me about it, though.
It's kind of like one of those towns you pass through on the way to another place. Yeah,
potentially. Yeah, it's like somewhere near Topa and you said it was close to Wellington, somewhere in the middle there. Yeah, Beautiful area though. Oh my gosh. What was it like growing up with your mom then? Just that one female influence.
Yeah, I think has its pros and cons, Luckily, mum and I were very close, and she's such an amazing woman. But it did get lonely, she was a full-time nurse. And so there were a lot of times where I would, have a different babysitter or be on my own. And playing on my own as a kid. And so I really had to kind of be comfortable with being by myself. And I had a lot of imaginary friends to play with. And, I kept myself company. I used to sing a lot and dance a lot. And I think that's why I was so drawn to expressive arts, because I needed to express myself, and, not having siblings to play with. meant that I was lacking that a little bit. So yeah, I mean, I think mum did a really good job with raising me, but I think I did miss out on, having a male influence in my life, and having siblings to play with and learn with. So yeah, it was great in ways, and then also very challenging in ways, but I wouldn't take any of it back.
Yeah, for sure. And do you think, like, because you had kind of an overwhelmingly feminine energy going on around you, it sounds like, with your mom, and then like with an all girls school, like, do you think can you look back and now notice that like that masculine energy was kind of missing?
Oh yeah. Yes. Yeah. I can look back now on decisions that I made growing up with, I guess, really wanting male attention, and not always in the best ways. And at the time, not realizing the decisions that I was making were maybe not healthy. But in hindsight, looking at some of the past decisions, especially in high school, that I made just to get male attention in any form, because I was lacking that, I can now reflect on that and realize why I made certain decisions. And I can have compassion for, teenage Hayley and give her love now. Whereas at the time, I just maybe didn't realize that what I was doing was harmful. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. We all need so much compassion for our teenage selves and our preteen selves, and just take a moment to just feel that, because I still am really hard on little Kris, for sure.
Yeah. Inner child healing, and you're going back to that child or to that teenage self and giving that person what they needed at the time. We can do that now. And it's very, very healing. It's like healing parts of ourselves that maybe just needed some extra love at the time. And when we can do that, we can see massive changes in our life as well by healing those parts. And just going back to them and giving them a hug, asking what they need,
So you sound like you've done a lot of like inner child healing then.
I have. It's still a process. I think it's, with any type of healing, it's like a spiral. So it's like it doesn't end in a way. But it's beautiful in that way, because it's a journey and it keeps going. But I have spent some time going back to moments where there was a lack of love, or where I remember not feeling good about myself, almost like hating myself in moments, just feeling so insecure and or lonely, and going back to those moments and asking that child what they need, and just listening to that self is something that I have done a fair bit of, but it's still a process. There's a lot to go through.
Yeah. Would you think, like, looking back, what were like the main messages that you're kind of healing from? I guess what I'm trying to ask is, what were like the kind of messages around your own relationship with yourself that you received from like your environment and from the people in your life, and like, how did people view their bodies, and what kind of messages did you receive around that?
I think I was always very supported by my mother. She was always very uplifting and supportive of me and my dreams. And she's just an incredible person. And I'm very, very fortunate to have that positive influence in my life. But as we said, not having that positive male influence, whilst I had a good relationship with my father, he was in another country, so I wasn't seeing him very often. And so the kind of attention and what I felt about myself from men or from boys wasn't always positive. And even from other girls at school, being in that environment, I feel like I didn't always confide in my mother about what was going on. And there was a lot of toxicity that happened, and a lot of, there was name calling, and there was some manipulation that happened with certain people. And so I did feel at times very insecure. And I would cover that pretty well with, drama and musicals and being involved in that scene. Like, I think that did help, but I think I was covering a lot of like insecurity that I think I probably picked up from generational stuff. Like, I've kind of looked into that side, and there's a lot of generational stuff that I came in with, but then also just that high school environment that wasn't always very supportive and nurturing, and not really feeling like I could fully confide in someone, or feeling like I might be judged if I did.
Yeah, no, that's definitely really real. Man, people suck in high school sometimes. It's not a very good way to put that, I guess, but oh man, it was rough times. But like, so your love of, I'm hearing so much about your love of dance and your love of like artistic expression. And I can definitely see how that's like a part of your life now. So do you think that because you're an ecstatic dance facilitator, right? Or I guess that's how we met. So I do know that this is true. Yeah. And you led me through, oh my gosh, the most incredible moment for me, because I'd never actually danced in that way before. Like, I was on the forest floor, just kind of going at it. And I really let go, I think, for the first time in that way, especially like just feeling it and not caring that I felt like I looked ridiculous, and I actually didn't care for the first time. But do you think that early experience has led you to want to facilitate those type of activities?
Yeah, well, I just wanted to say that was awesome seeing you let loose at that little event that we had, and just like dancing in the forest is so healing. So it was really cool watching you express yourself in that way and others. And yeah, I think that why maybe I was drawn to that is because, I mean, I grew up dancing, so that's always been a part of my life. And I grew up being very attracted to drama and to musical theater as a way of expression. And I think expressing the parts of myself that I kept hidden, or didn't feel comfortable maybe confiding with people in. So I would use art as a way to express and to emote and to release. And I think, yeah, part of why I am drawn to ecstatic dance is because it's a way for people to express and to celebrate, and to really express their full self. But it's also very healing. It has the aspect of, like emotions can come up, and it's a time that, you can dedicate to yourself in a safe environment to express and explore those parts of yourself. And so I'm very attracted to that, because I think there's a lot of stuff in me that I want to express, and I don't always feel like talking is the way for me to do that. I feel like I've never really felt like, I know obviously counseling and psychology have so many benefits, but I've just never felt drawn to really go down that road. But I feel like dance is my medicine and expression is my medicine, and I can actually get the medicine that I need through my body, through connecting to my body and through expressing in that way. And that's just my personal choice, but I feel like that it really helps a lot of people. And that's probably why I was drawn to it, just because there's a lot of healing still to be done. And I also want to, support others in that process and share that medicine with others as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're such a good facilitator for it. Oh my gosh. I still need that playlist from you.
Yes, I'll send that to you.
Amazing. So what other techniques do you use to connect to your body?
I love breathwork. So breathwork is another really, really beautiful modality and a way to connect to our intuition, to our body, to our soul. And it's, the breath is the medicine. So it's like we have this medicine inside of us. And when we are in an environment where we actually feel supported and safe to explore that, you realize that we have everything we need in us. And it's just when we actually go into the body, like the body holds the key. And so the breath really helps to tap into our intuition, to our soul, to expression and to allow emotions to come up and to be released. It's such a powerful practice. And I feel like, and it's also a way to connect to source, like when you're opened up in that way, you're then more able to receive wisdom and messages and insights and clarity. And so it's very profound what can happen in a breath work. And I feel like the breath really is connected to everything. The more we can bring the breath into everything we do, whether it's speaking or dancing or singing, like the breath is so important in every single area of life. And so connecting to the breath is, I think, something that I would like to see taught more in like education, for example. Like there's so many things that we should be learning from a young age. And I am seeing it a little bit more, but yeah, I'm very, very passionate about the breath, and then combining the breath with movement or with singing or with these other forms of embodiment and expression.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the breath is that connection between your body and your mind and your body and your soul, right? That's the whole theory of yoga, right? It's that combines it all. And I mean, yeah, so many of the other different branches, which I know you studied as well, right? All the, you've studied like Ayurveda and you've studied so many things.
Oh, yeah. Not in depth, but I did a Dharma and spiritual life coaching certification. And so we did explore Ayurveda and the chakra system and a bit of human design and some astrology and somatic. So there were a lot of aspects to that training that I feel like we delved into bits and pieces. And I personally feel like I would like to delve even deeper into some of those subjects because I mean, honestly, some of those topics are like a lifelong journey, like for instance, astrology, you could spend a lifetime learning astrology. And so I feel like I've learned bits and pieces and I feel like it's just going to be a continuous journey throughout my life of just learning more and sharing whatever feels resonant.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Dharma it's called Dharma, right? The coaching. So it's soul's purpose coaching. I've seen it called that as well. Can you explain to us more what that is?
Yeah, sure. So your Dharma is essentially Dharma has a lot of meanings, but in this way, it is your soul's purpose. So when we're talking about Dharma coaching, we're talking about soul purpose coaching, which essentially is, we all, if you believe in this, we all came to this earth with a divine purpose. And that divine purpose could be, to raise consciousness, which I feel like many people are here to do that. But everyone's going to have their own unique way in how they do that. And everyone comes into this earth with their own unique talents, gifts, challenges, obstacles. And so with the coaching, the Dharma coaching, it's really about supporting people in remembering what that is for them, because everyone knows what that is somewhere deep inside, but they just might need some support and help remembering that for them. So I would never tell someone what their purpose is because I have no idea what it is. I might have an inkling, but I can't tell someone that. They have to remember that for themselves. But there are tools that can be used to really help someone through that process. And I really like to combine embodiment in that. I think that's, my area of focus is really also combining the breath and movement into the coaching. So we're really also asking the body's wisdom and allowing for more synergy within all of the different parts so that we can, explore it very deeply.
Amazing. So can you walk us through an example of like the journey someone might take with you if they were to do a coaching session with you?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, I would always offer them a free call to get to know each other and see if we click, because that's obviously really important to make sure that, we have a rapport and that, we jive, and really ask the person what it is that they're seeking, whether it's they need help finding their purpose or discovering their purpose, or whether it's a spiritual life issue that they want help resolving. So there's that aspect too. Or whether they need to, they might want to deepen their connection with their body. That could be something that they need help with. So there's many different, things that people might need support with. And so we would really clarify what that is for someone. And there could be more than one thing. And then what I would do is actually tailor the coaching to what they need. So for instance, someone might be more interested in connecting to their body, in which case I would create a package that incorporates the breath work and the dance and the coaching, but someone else might be more interested in just the coaching. And then in that case, I would create the package that is obviously just coaching. So it's really going to be dependent on what the person needs and wants, and what they're interested in as well. I personally really think that combining breathwork and dance is really helpful in the process, because I think it's all connected. But it's totally up to the person. And then we would, depending on how long they want to work, I would recommend at least 3 months. But if someone only wanted one session, or they wanted to do 1 month, we can work it out. I'm pretty flexible with catering to what people need, and I want to be open to that.
Amazing. So if somebody really, they wanted this, but maybe this isn't the right time for them to undergo like a whole coaching journey, like if it's just, they're feeling some resistance that they haven't worked through in terms of like starting to work with a soul purpose life coach like yourself, what would you say to them to get them to like that first step maybe, or something that might trigger the first step to getting them with that coach? What would you say to them?
Interesting question. Well, I would still offer just a conversation. There's no pressure. Like, I'm happy to just speak with someone about something and just see if, with the conversation, something flows, and we can talk about what that resistance is. I mean, otherwise, I honestly feel like a breath work would be very helpful for anyone who just needs any connection or any guidance, because a breath work will give you whatever medicine you need at that time. And so I would actually probably recommend doing it, if they were open to it, having a breathwork session to maybe help to start opening them up to guidance and to connecting to their intuition. And that might give them some answers as to the next steps. But first of all, probably just like a 20-minute call, just to connect with someone and see what the resistance is for them, and if they can identify it.
Yeah, for sure. So a short breathwork exercise, do you have any that come to mind, like the top one that you would say, this is something that we can tell people right now about, that they could go and implement, like in the next, like right after finishing listening to this episode, they could go and do a quick little breathwork for themselves? Do you have any exercise suggestions?
I have a few. Okay, so one would be connecting in with the lower belly. So I would recommend, I'll just give a little example here, but I would just say, close your eyes and drop your shoulders down, and then, place one hand on your lower belly or your womb if you have a womb, and then the other hand on your heart space. And then just take some nice, slow, deep breaths in through the nose. And exhale out through the mouth. And just doing that even, 3 or 4 times can actually really help someone ground in. It can help the nervous system to calm down. It can help regulate the body and to generate a bit more calmness if someone's feeling anxious. So that's just a very simple breath that, someone could start off with. If someone was interested in more of a activating breath and something a bit more intense, then I would take them through the 2-step breath, in which when I facilitate someone with that breath, it's usually about 30 to 40 minutes of active breathing, and then 10 or 15-minute rest at the end. And that breath is in and out through the mouth, similar to holotropic breathing, but it's a 2-step belly, chest, exhale breath. And that's for people who just want a little bit more of a journey. But if you're just wanting something to, even just calm down, then just the inhale through the nose and exhale through the mouth, and placing your hands on your heart and your belly really helps to actually connect to your body, to your heart. It's like really helpful to place your hands on your body, and it's helpful also to remember to, when you have your hand on your lower belly, it reminds you to breathe into that area, breathing into the lower belly and exhaling out through the mouth. So yeah, that's just a little simple exercise that I would recommend for someone.
Thank you. Yeah, that's wonderful. I love the reminder too, that it's like, if you want to get more intense breath work, you really do need a facilitator, because even when I try to do my own yoga session, I'll be like, oh, I'm done now. That's 15 minutes. I'm good. Right. Or like, I'm doing my own breath work, my own meditation. And like, it's so short, but it feels so long. And then like you go and you have somebody facilitate you and you go, oh, right, I could do this for an hour, and you would actually get so much more transformation. And like, having that space, that container, just makes such a huge difference.
Yeah. Have you ever done a longer breath work? Like, have you been facilitated through a breathwork journey before?
You did the one in the forest. That's one of the longer ones that's just breathwork. Like, I've been led through like hour-long meditations and done long yoga classes, but no, I don't know that I've ever done a really, and like, I learned pranayama, and I learned like the teaching of pranayama, which is just deep breath. For anybody listening who doesn't know what pranayama is, it's essentially breath work. It's just kind of the Sanskrit name for it. But no, I don't know that I've ever been led through a really long breathwork session.
Highly recommend. Yeah, it's life-changing. Okay. But you're right. It's important to have a facilitator if you're going on a journey like that, because it can be very intense for people. And so it's nice to feel safe and supported when delving into the breath. And then the more you do it and the more practice you get with it, then, then you feel more comfortable possibly doing that solo. But if you're just starting out, I highly recommend finding a breathwork facilitator that you feel safe with. And yeah, going on that journey, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, for sure. I've got actually a very selfish question that I just thought of, because I have been ramping up my own meditation lately, which has been really, really helping me in terms of like nighttime anxieties and stuff. But I actually went in really deep the other day, because I had time and I had energy, and I wasn't like right before bed. So I wasn't like kind of half falling asleep while meditating. So I was actually like super, super alert. And I went in so many layers deep that like my partner then like came back in with like lunch, and he startled me, and like, I knew he was there, but it took me like a long time to get back out. And I thought, oh my God, what if I had trouble getting out? And like, I don't feel safe to like really dive deep into it, because I don't know how I'm going to get myself out again. So do you have I know this is switching over to meditation, it's something different, but I'm curious if you have any techniques for pulling yourself out of a really deep meditation or breathwork session.
That's a really good question. Meditation's definitely not my forte, although I do meditate, occasionally. I tried to do the daily meditation, but I think dance is more of my daily practice. Dance is my meditation. But I love the benefits of meditation. And I would say pulling yourself out of a deep meditation or a breath work, if it's something that you maybe don't have as much experience with, or if you're going very deep, I think maybe even kind of training yourself to have like how in dreams, if you want to lucid dream, there's like a symbol or something that you can make yourself learn to tell yourself that you're dreaming. So like you could look at your hand, and then you keep looking at your hand throughout the day. And then if you're in a dream and you're not sure if you're dreaming, you look at your hand and you can tell if you're dreaming or not. I don't know if you've heard of that. It's something that people that get into lucid dreaming, they have these little tricks that they can do so that when they're in the dream state, they know if they're dreaming or not.
It's like Inception.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So then if they are, they then like, oh, cool, I'm in a lucid dream. I can, do whatever I want, navigate this. So that just popped into my head of like maybe something that you could teach yourself to repeatedly do throughout the day, so that if you're in a meditation, you could do that thing and know if you're meditating or even if you can snap yourself out of it. But yeah, I'm not entirely sure what that would look like, because I don't think I've been deep enough in a meditation to not be able to pull myself out. I have been deep in a psychedelic journey, but I feel like even then I'm aware that I'm on a journey, and I don't feel, and I can do that by myself and feel like I can, that I'm still in the physical. So it's an interesting, experience that you had. And sorry, I can't give you more of an answer for that. I'm not really sure how I would navigate that. That's interesting.
No worries. I mean, I just threw you onto meditation and you're talking about breath work, and it's completely different, even though it feels related, but it's completely different.
Yeah, it'd be a good question to ask someone whose forte is meditation, for sure. So I'm sure they would have some good advice.
I'll keep it in the back of my mind. It's there now.
Yeah. So for breath work though, that's why I would recommend having a facilitator, because a facilitator can help someone if they're, need support in coming back to the body. Because in breath work, you can go very deep. And so, someone guiding you in and out of that journey is really important. And that's why I say I wouldn't do it solo unless you felt absolutely confident that you could pull yourself out. But I mean, it's not recommended.
Yeah, for sure. So you mentioned psychedelics. What has been your relationship with psychedelics?
They have been a part of my journey for a while. Let me think. I think I first tried LSD when I was about 19, and that was pretty eye-opening for me, and definitely broadened my perspectives of who I thought I was, this reality, as psychedelics do. And then, over the years, kind of dabbled here and there, but I feel like it wasn't until I moved to Vancouver where I really started forming more of a relationship with mushrooms, for instance, and using them in more of a respectful way, and actually forming a relationship with the mushrooms and with the spirit of the mushrooms, rather than just doing it recreationally, which I would do more of when I was younger. Or at festivals and things like that. So I feel like the older I've gotten, the more I'm aware of, there's actually a consciousness to this plant, or, and I want to be respectful of that and form a relationship with that consciousness. So the more that I've formed relationships with certain plant medicines, I've found the more beneficial and healing they have been, and more supportive they have been with me as well. Yeah. So I definitely feel like psychedelics have played a huge part in my healing process, and just in allowing me to peel back some of the subconscious layers that, sometimes we're not even aware of, certain traumas or triggers or memories that we've maybe buried down because we didn't want to remember them. But the psychedelics can actually help us to heal those things, to bring stuff up, which is not always comfortable. But so necessary, I believe. And I do really feel like, while some people have had particularly, bad trips, I do feel like a lot of that is around set and setting, and how safe you feel, and your relationship with the plant. Because yes, sometimes journeys can feel uncomfortable, but usually it's just showing you something that you need to heal out of love. It's not like, it's usually coming up because it needs to be healed. And so if you're in a place where you feel safe and supported, and you're in a setting that allows for deep healing, then in my experience, it's always been a good experience, even if it's been hard. The only times I've had not so great experiences are when the set and setting has not been ideal. For instance, at a festival, trying a new substance at a festival, and then not having a good time because I didn't set it up in a way that was
you don't have control. Yeah,
exactly. So I would never blame the substance for that. It's more how I went into that journey. It was my fault at that, and I think that that's important to distinguish. But yeah, I definitely have had a lot of beautiful healing. I don't think I would be the person I am today without having had those profound moments with the plant medicines and learning a lot from them, and also being able to look at a lot of the shadow aspects of myself, and just start to heal those parts.
Yeah. So how have you facilitated your own healing with it? Like, have you gone to somebody who's led you through a journey with the psychedelics? Or, right, because like you can definitely have bad trips at festivals and just, right, because you can't control your surroundings, you can't control this environment, and all of a sudden something happens that you're not comfortable with, and that can be absolutely terrifying. But like, because that's something I'm looking into right now as well, is like how to set up that environment without paying thousands of dollars and going to Mexico to going and like hanging out with a doctor there.
Yeah, totally. I think it's all based on your own comfort level. Like if you have never experimented, or I don't even want to say experimented because I don't really like that word. If you never explored psychedelics before, I would always recommend, finding someone who you feel safe with. And that could be a friend who has experience with them, or it could be a shaman, or it could be a medicine woman or a medicine man, someone who has experience that can create that safe container for you to explore. And then, I have had experience facilitating my own journeys, but that's only because I feel very comfortable with certain plant medicines and feel confident that I can navigate that. But I definitely wouldn't jump into that having not, been facilitated before. So I had an ayahuasca experience about 4 years ago, and that was very profound and healing.
Nice.
I think it was 3 years ago, actually, around this time, 3 years ago. Yeah, and that was beautiful. And we had 2 facilitators, a man and a woman. So it was really nice to have that masculine and feminine energy. And it felt very sacred, and it felt, really, I really felt safe to be able to go deep. And, they had beautiful music playing and would sing and had candles, and it was very intentional. Like we went in with what our intentions are, and the lighting was right. And so it's like all of that setting, it's really setting up your environment in a way that makes you feel safe. And even having like nice scents around, like make sure that your senses feel satisfied. And then, and with mushrooms, I feel pretty confident in doing solo journeys. And so I'll go into the forest, find a spot, bring a bunch of stuff with me, like a tapestry. I'll bring my speaker and put some like healing sound frequencies on, and I'll bring food and water and lots of layers. And so I really like when I go into the forest to do self journeys, I make sure I have everything that I need to feel comfortable. And I really, that's probably my favorite way to do it, because it's like you're in the forest connecting to nature. There's moss and water and trees around, animals. And I find that very, very beneficial for me. And then other times I've just been in my room with the lights down, and again, like candles and music playing. And, I will only do it when I feel called to do that. But I have found some of the most profound experiences have happened just doing it on my own. But telling someone like, hey, I'm going to be doing this. This is where I am, in case something happens, so that someone's aware that I'm doing it and I'm not just, doing that without anyone knowing about it. So I think that's also important as well.
Absolutely. Because that is so brave, actually. Like I'm sitting there being like, oh my gosh, I would be terrified. I'm picturing myself going into Stanley Park and sitting there and doing that. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, no, I would need somebody with me, because like I get scared of the forest. I love the forest. I love camping, but I get scared when I go in because I always imagine, coyotes and bears and everything going to come out and jump at me. Mm-hmm. Sounds like you're so one with the forest. It's wonderful.
Well, I totally get that fear. I would pick my location wisely. So I usually go to Rice Lake and go down by the lake. And so I'm not right up in the forest where there could be, bears and coyotes and things like that. I usually try and pick a spot that's like secluded enough, but I'm also close to the water and more in a location that it would be less likely that there'd be stuff around. So yeah, you definitely want to be in a location where you feel safe, because if you don't feel safe, then definitely not a good idea to do a journey somewhere where you're feeling like anxious. In which case doing it like at home can be also really nice. And then like, during your journey, you could go outside into your backyard and like hug a tree or whatever you need to do, like put your hands on the ground. But yeah, definitely that setting of like, make sure that you do feel safe when you do it. And if you don't feel comfortable doing it on your own, then yeah, finding someone that wants to journey with you. Maybe it's just like one other person and you can do it together.
Yeah, for sure. That delicate balance though of like, I feel safe in my room and I can control this environment completely, but also I need to be outside. I don't think I've had a single mushroom trip where I don't need to be outside and need to like go and feel nature and like you put your face up against the tree.
Yes. Yeah. I feel that. Yeah.
Do you ever have, and this is kind of like switching gears a bit, do you ever during these mushroom trips or just in any of your experiences feel called to just kind of strip naked and just be one with yourself in that way?
Oh man. Totally. Although I haven't always done that, but there have been moments camping with friends where we will do that, and we'll go and skinny dip. And that feels amazing. But yeah, there's definitely been times where I've been on my own, but I haven't felt comfortable to to do that, even though I really want to. That it's a very freeing experience to do that, especially like skinny dipping and swimming. But if you're going to swim, that's another thing, is you have to be really careful swimming on psychedelics because you actually feel everything. Your body's more sensitive. And so there's a danger there of getting too cold or not being able to get out. And so I wouldn't recommend doing that by yourself. Like, don't go swimming.
No, I would definitely. Yeah. So the advice that we're giving you is to go into the forest, take some shrooms alone and strip naked and go swimming. Yeah. Absolutely not.
Definitely not. Yeah. I mean, you do you, but probably not a good idea.
Probably not a great idea. But I mean, yeah, the whole like sensory experience, right? Of just like being naked and just like, I'm curious what your relationship is with your naked body.
Yeah. Interesting question. So I feel like I haven't always felt comfortable with it in terms of being naked and especially in front of other people. Like at high school, I was definitely more probably insecure about my body. But then as I've gotten older, I feel like my confidence has grown. And I think that comes from the more I've gotten to know myself and the more I've gone on the self-love journey, then the more confidence I have in my body. And it's all very connected. And I think even the more self-exploration that I've done, with psychedelics or with movement or expression, then the more that I feel comfortable with my sexuality and with my body. It's just all tied in. And so, I'll go to festivals sometimes and, walk around topless, or I'll go skinny dipping with friends. And I would never have done that when I was younger. But now I feel far more confident, and I would only do that if I felt safe. There are certain festivals and environments where I wouldn't feel safe to do that. But there are also really beautiful environments, especially in Canada, where I have felt safe to do that. I have felt like it's an environment that is very healing, and it's not, you don't get those kind of feelings of being looked at in a perverted way, which I feel like that's the fear for a lot of people is they may not want to express themselves in that way for fear of drawing the wrong attention. And so for me, I've just navigated environments where I do feel safe to do that. There's also Wreck Beach in Vancouver, which I feel like, I feel very safe being naked there, because it's just an environment that that it feels like people are able to express themselves, and it's not seen as sexual. It's just seen as, this is the human body, like this is our natural state. We should be able to do this.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So I'm definitely more comfortable these days, but I would still be cautious, not, expressing myself in certain environments, because not everywhere around the world would be safe to do that. Unfortunately, that's just how it is.
Yes, unfortunately. And even some nude beaches are not safe places because they don't have the kind of community and environment that rec does.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, you just have to feel into it, I guess. And whatever you're comfortable with, do that.
Yeah, totally. It's an up and down journey for me, but I find, there's this direct correlation between like how I feel about myself and how happy I am just being naked and just, and that was a huge step for me. And that's the only one I took recently, I think. And like, I'm still gradually kind of slowly building up the comfort. And I almost find that you have to practice it. Like non-sexual public nudity is something you almost need to practice. Like last year, I was very intentional about like going to rec a lot and just really trying to just be like, no, and like kind of change my mindset around it all. Because I feel like we were all taught, or at least I was definitely taught that like the naked body was a sexual thing, right? Yeah. And that there's just all these triggers that happen in your brain so unconsciously when you see one or when you are naked, that it's like, oh, there's a sexual connotation here, but it's just so natural and it's so beautiful. And I don't know, I find that that's like the biggest, it's like how, breath work connects your body and your soul. I find like your naked body connects like yourself and your love for yourself or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I totally resonate with that. The more comfortable you feel expressing yourself naked, it's almost that there's a correlation with self-love there. It's like you love yourself enough to express yourself in that way. And that's beautiful. And I wish more people felt that. But it is hard when you grow up in a society where that sexualizes, especially the female body and the male body, definitely. But, emphasis on the female body because it's just been programmed into us in all of the Hollywood films. And it's definitely getting better, I think, but it's still very prevalent. It's still something that I think needs a lot of work, a lot of conscious awareness around that. That like we're just human, and these are like I think it's what Shaman Durek calls them, spacesuits, like our human like spacesuits that we're wearing, but they're not like the full us. We have these beautiful souls underneath, and we're so much more than our physical body, and so we should feel confident to be able to express the fullness of who we are without fear of judgment. And it's really nice to find places where you can do that and feel safe to do that, because it's such a freeing feeling, as you said. Like it's just, it's so nice.
Yeah, well said. Absolutely. Oh, yeah. So how did you mentioned along your journey to self-love, you've taken these steps. What would you say are the biggest steps, the biggest turning points, the biggest aha moments that you've had along that journey? And like, where did you start? And like, I mean, right now you're just radiating self-love and everything is just coming out. But like, where do you think you started and what were those like big turning points along the way?
I think where it really started was, I think making the decision to move to Vancouver was an act of self-love, because I separated from a long-term relationship to move here. I moved away from family and friends to move to Vancouver to pursue my dream, which at the time was to be an actor. And that's still definitely a part of my journey, but it's transitioned and changed a lot since then. I used to attach to that being my identity, but now I realize that that's a part of me, but it's not the full picture. And so I think that the self-love journey, making the decision to move here and to follow my dreams, was definitely an act of self-love. And I feel like what really kicked it off was actually an acting class that I was in for. I was doing that for quite a few years, like 3 years, and then I've taken a bit of a break, but I'll probably go back soon because I really miss it. But my coach actually really pointed out some stuff that no one had ever actually brought up to me before. Certain aspects of my personality that I really feel needed looking at, but no one had, I guess, had the confidence, or maybe they didn't want to offend me or whatever, and to really tell me these things I could work on. And she would just say it how it is in such a loving way, but she would really tell these things to me so that I could work on them. And that really kickstarted. That was about 3 months after I moved to Vancouver, and that really kickstarted that journey for me. And that was not easy. Like, that was like looking at parts of my shadow and maybe parts that I'd never even realized about myself, because obviously to be an actor, you have to really know yourself well, and to be able to look at the shadow parts of yourself in order to actually play a character that has those aspects as well. So that it requires a lot of self-inquiry. And so I think that she was the catalyst for me going really down this journey of healing and self-love, and what that actually meant, which self-love requires you to look at the parts that you don't love. And so it's not necessarily an easy journey, but it's so, so rewarding if you actually commit to it. And it can bring so many blessings and so many synchronicities and opportunities and beautiful people into your life. And I found that that was what started to happen the more that I went down that road. But yeah, to start off, it was definitely not easy to look at those parts and to have those parts pointed out to me for the first time. But also I don't regret any of it. And I think I'm still on that journey. But yeah, I would say moving to Vancouver was the big catalyst for that whole transformation, which was about 4 years ago. Yeah.
Wow. You've come an amazing way in 4 years.
Thank you.
But yeah, no, I mean, like, doing something huge and big for yourself like that, that's definitely a triggering moment, right? When you take your life into your own hands. So what was it that triggered that move?
I feel like I wanted to move to Vancouver for quite a few years when I was living in Sydney. It had come into my consciousness actually, maybe the second or third year I was at university, and it kept coming up. And I remember thinking, oh, Vancouver could be a cool place to move to, because there was a lot going on in the acting world, and I was very passionate about that. And people call it Hollywood North, and it's so beautiful. It reminded me a lot of New Zealand's landscape. And I was like, oh, I feel like this is the next place I could move to. But then I met my then boyfriend at the time, and, we started dating, and things got really serious. And I think I put off that thought that I had of like, I think I just kind of put it off, and I thought, well, I want to see where this goes. And that was a beautiful relationship, and it lasted 4 years. But I think in the third year, it really started to come up again of like Vancouver. And I'm like, okay, this is coming up, and I have to make a decision now. Like, I think like I'm clearly being guided here. So I actually ended up auditioning for an acting school in London. I got a call back, and I had to actually fly to London for an audition. And then I didn't get it. And I knew at that moment I was meant to go to Vancouver. Like, I knew it was a test, or I knew that it was like it was almost like a relief in a way that I didn't get it, because I kind of knew I wanted to go to Vancouver. So it's a really interesting feeling of like, oh, damn, but also I think I am meant to go. And I think that's maybe when I really started to first listen to my intuition, even though maybe at the time I wouldn't have called it that, but it just kept coming up. And then I eventually moved here at the start of 2018. And I did leave that relationship, and I left family and friends, and I had to just trust this feeling of Vancouver. And I totally know why now. I was guided here, and it was because this whole transformational journey was going to happen here. I have also now met my husband, and happily married, and have beautiful friends and a support network here. So it's like I was being guided here for that reason. But at the time, I just had to trust that the decision I was making was the right one. And it was very difficult.
Yeah,
It was
sounds
very
like
difficult.
it. Oh my gosh, that's strength of just like leaving your entire life behind because of this moment of intuition, and listen, like the strength to listen to that is really powerful. I feel like that's
Thank
your
you.
first step. That like, yeah, I guess you did say that, but you said like the acting class, but like the thought and the move to Vancouver. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, I think when something keeps coming into your consciousness and it doesn't go away and you try and like push it down, but it keeps coming back, that's not coincidence. That's your soul guiding you. That is really important to listen to that voice. And usually that voice is like a little whisper. And then it might get louder, and then it might get louder. And then it's like it gets so loud that you can't ignore it. And I think it's important to be aware of that voice because it's guiding you for a reason. It's not just a coincidence, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you.
Yeah. That little whisper in your ear, that feeling. And then like, it just starts to disturb you. I think if you ignore it for too long, it starts to like really like manifest physically. You might get sick from it. You might like, you really, really start to notice it coming up. Or like even there was a while that I had like this huge lump in my throat and I couldn't figure it out why. And I knew that that had to do with like your truth chakra, like your throat chakra, right? And I still just couldn't figure out, like I was like, but I'm living truthfully. And like that's still something that, you know, I would then meditate on. And like I tried wearing like stones that might help that shift. But of course, wearing a stone isn't going to help what's truly underneath. And it's not going to like really attack that, like something in your deep desires are not being met and you need to go address that.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's so on point. Yeah, definitely. It's no stone or crystal is going to fix that for you. It requires deep inquiry, self-inquiry and listening, listening to your body, listening to your heart, listening to your intuition. And yeah, you're so right. It's like it won't go away. It'll just manifest in different ways until you listen and take action.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sometimes we have to learn the hard way, unfortunately.
And we all do.
Yeah. Yep.
So I wanted to talk to you about your business. You have an incredible rainbow colored business, Vibrant Embodiment, right?
Yes.
So how did that come about? How did your journey lead you to creating that business?
Thank you for that question. I don't think I've ever been asked that. That's a good question. So Vibrant Embodiment only came about a year ago, actually. I think 2020 hit, and obviously a lot of people were doing a lot of reflection and asking themselves, okay, like, is what I'm doing resonant? Do I have a bigger purpose? And making some decisions, some big life decisions in that year. And I think for me, that was a year that I realized that whilst I love acting and it's always going to be, I feel, a part of my life, there was more to my purpose than that. I really felt like something was missing. And I remember listening to Sahara Rose a lot. I don't know if you've heard of Sahara Rose. She's an incredible woman. If you haven't, highly recommend. And she has a podcast called the Higher Self Podcast. And she had a guest on there, Malika Darville, who is an ecstatic dance facilitator. And I remember listening to this episode and hearing about her and hearing about the ecstatic dance that she facilitates. And something in my soul just lit up. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have to look into this. And so I went onto her website and I just saw everything that she was doing. And I thought, this is what I'm meant to do. Like, I just knew that this was something that was a part of my path, just that like intuitive feeling. And so from there, I actually worked with her one-on-one for a while. And then I looked into a local, because I couldn't get to Bali to do her training, unfortunately. So I looked at different trainings and found another beautiful facilitator, Hope, who lives in Edmonton, and signed up for her 9-month facilitator training online. And during that time, I was also exploring the breath. So I was doing some breathwork classes because that had also come into my awareness. And I started doing those weekly and realizing how transformative those classes were. And so I decided that next year as well to become a breathwork facilitator and do that training. And it all just started to kind of make sense. I never, even the end of 2020, even the end of 2020, I didn't know I was going to create a business. It hadn't quite come together yet until early last year. I realized, that this is the next step. This is what I've been called to. And so that's how Vibrant Embodiment was birthed. And then I also was very, very inspired to do the Dharma coaching, as it just felt like that would bring it all together. And it felt like the breathwork, the dance, and the Dharma coaching was connected. And so the Vibrant Embodiment really just stands for, helping people to remember and embody their vibrance, because I do believe that we are all vibrant at our core, and that we have so much light within us to radiate and share with the world. But embodiment practices can help us to peel back those layers of conditioning and to uncover that light and to help radiate that to the world. And so that's really what I'm here to do, is to help people find their truth and radiate their truth and their vibrance. And that's why I birthed that business.
You birthed it. I love that. That's such a feminine way of saying that you created a business, and I love it.
Yeah, I love it too. I love the word birthing. It just it feels resonant.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I love hearing how people came to that big thing, came to their business idea, came to their big trip, and all the steps. And it really sounds like it was slowly leading you there. You just didn't even know. You were just blindly trusting your intuition as one course came up and another learning and teaching came up, and you just kind of took them as they were. And then at the end of the path, there was the answer, right? Or the beginning of the next chapter, I guess, was right there waiting for you.
Yes. Yeah. Sometimes you just have to, as I said, we talked about trust that voice. And I think it's if your soul is lit up from something and you feel it in your body, that's a huge sign that it could be something worth exploring and looking into further. And that's the same feeling I had for all of those decisions. It was this my soul literally lighting up and being yes, and it's not, obviously that can happen. It can happen a lot, and you can't always say yes to all of it, because you might just be overloading yourself with too much. But feeling into what it is, what you are here to do. And I think that was something I had to ask myself, is this my work to do? And if it's a yes, then just going for it and trusting that, that you will be led to your destiny that way. Yeah.
Incredible. Yeah, definitely the soul purpose coach that I would sign up with.
Oh, thank you.
Oh man. Okay. So if we're wrapping up here, and so I'd love to ask you, if there's one thing that you want to leave listeners with of everything we've talked about, is there one piece of wisdom you want to impart on to everyone?
I mean, I definitely want to say, listen to that inner voice. That's really key. And if you don't know what that inner voice is, doing embodiment work, or I don't even like to really use the word work, but exercises, modalities can actually help you tune into that voice and into your intuition. So you don't need to necessarily listen to other people's. It's great to listen to people's advice that you trust, but first and foremost, I would say learn how to connect with your own wisdom and your own intuition, because quite often we know the answers that we need, but we're not taught the tools as to how to access those answers. And that is through the body. That is, it's all in there. We just need to learn how to access that and to trust and listen to that inner voice, and to find someone who can support you with that if you need help with that, that you feel safe with and that you trust. Just don't take advice from someone that you don't feel resonance from. Really, really trust your own wisdom first and foremost, and the wisdom of someone who you respect and trust. That's what's coming up for me. So
amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming on today. And if people want to find you on social media, on your business, where would they go to find you?
Oh, well, thanks for having me. This has been awesome. And it's my first podcast. So thank you for inviting me on. If you want to connect, I'm Hayley.Flinn on Instagram, or you can go to vibrantembodiment.com.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And with that, we come to the end of this week's episode of Reclaim Your Radiance. Thank you so much for joining me this week. I hope you enjoyed your time with us and came away with something truly valuable. If you want more and simply cannot wait until next week, come join us online. We have a couple of really exciting communities that are being built. First, we have a Facebook community with the name Reclaim Your Radiance, where we talk about all sorts of topics related to the podcast, and tons that aren't. It's a community of like-minded souls who want to dive deeper into these things and keep the conversation going. Secondly, you can sign up for our mailing list to receive bonus content and stay in touch with what's happening in the world of Reclaim Your Radiance. And lastly, coming soon to a computer near you is our Patreon. Come along and join us for extra content, regular community meetups, fun swag, one-on-one time with yours truly, and so much more. Stay tuned for that. Head on over to the episode notes and the show description to find those links, and I hope to see you online soon. All right, everyone, until next week, stay radiant.